Hey, welcome back. Today we're talking about webinars, your shortcut to private capital. Hey, are you looking for a shortcut to raising capital? Then today's video is going to be right up your alley because we're going to talk about going from one-on-one investor presentations to one-to-many investor presentations using technology, specifically with webinars. Webinars have been the #1 way that I have raised capital for my own deals for the last 6 or 7 years. Plus, we've used these with our clients to help them raise millions of dollars for their deals as well. And today we're going to walk you through step by step in a very simple fashion how you too can do webinars and raise capital quickly. All right, doing webinars is the first step in our leverage phase of the money partner formula. And what is a webinar? A webinar, very simply put, is an online group presentation. This is a way for you to leverage yourself. So instead of just doing one-on-one, onesie-twosie investor presentations, you can do one presentation and reach 5, 10, 15, 20 or more people all at the same time. Massive leverage, very, very efficient, very effective as well. In fact, I've been doing webinars so long, they used to be called teleseminars, right? Before we could do them on video, we get everybody on the phone, we do it over the phone. So these days, it is so much easier, so much simpler, so much cheaper, and so much more effective with webinars. And what we found is that simpler is better. So back in the day when webinars were first getting started, there used to be all sorts of fancy landing pages, registration pages, special software, special recording stuff, all this kind of stuff to do a simple online group presentation. Well, guess what? Since COVID happened and everybody went online for a couple of years, things have gotten so much simpler. And at the time that I'm recording this video, I think the absolute best platform for you to focus on is good old Zoom. Zoom works like gangbusters, doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and everybody is familiar with getting on a Zoom call these days. So I highly recommend that you focus on doing a Zoom webinar. Okay, so let's walk through what a webinar looks like step by step. So the first thing you want to do is you want to pick the day and the time to do your webinar. And this is going to be a little bit different for everybody, but typically if you're trying to raise capital for a real estate deal, chances are a lot of the people that you're going to be reaching are working professionals. So you want to do this at a time that's convenient for them. What I found is in the evenings on either Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays typically works best. And if most of the people are in your geographic area, then I would recommend something around 7 or 7:30 p.m. your local time. If your prospective investors are spread all across the country or all across the continent, then perhaps 6 p.m. Pacific. That's kind of the time that works okay for people on the West Coast. It's not too late for people on the East Coast, kind of gets everybody in that zone. All right, so Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays, typically in the evening. So you've got to pick the day and the time that you're going to be doing your webinar. And I'd suggest, pick one that's 2 or 3 weeks out, so then you can plan everything accordingly. So you pick the day and the time, set up a Zoom meeting for that. The next step is to invite people to your presentation. And what I recommend for your presentation is that you pull out a piece of your big check pitch deck. We talked about that a few videos ago. If I get around to it, I'll try to put the video link up above there and you can check that out. But you want to pull out a piece of the big check pitch deck that you can just kind of do as a standalone presentation. And the goal of the webinar is to really generate interest, generate curiosity, and get people into one-on-one conversations from there. Okay? So you pick that piece there. And the next thing you want to do is you want to promote the webinar. So I've got what I call my 3 by 3 by 3 process for doing a webinar. So you want to do 3 promo emails. So let's say for argument's sake, we're going to do the webinar on a Thursday night. I would send out the promo emails starting Tuesday. So first one goes out Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday, the day of the actual webinar. So ding, 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 pretty close, pretty tight to when you're going to hold it. You want to keep these communications pretty simple. I found instead of doing like a big salesy, over-the-top, markety sounding thing, what works very, 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 very well these days is just something simple. Like you send out this with your CRM system, your email autoresponder to all of your investor prospects and personalize it. So say, Dear Sally, It's Dave. I'm getting together with a few people on Zoom this Thursday night to talk about how the money is made with our BRRRR real estate investing strategy. Would you like to join us? All right, so keep it pretty casual. And then Sally responds back, and then you add her to your RSVP list. So that's the first part. So the 3 promo emails. Second part is, do not assume that people are going to remember to show up. So you need to send out reminders, confirmations and reminders, right? So you send out 3 reminders. I usually do this 24 hours before the webinar, then about 6 hours before the webinar, and then the last one goes out 15 minutes before the webinar starts. So ding, 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 just to remind the people that put up their hand that you're having the webinar, okay? Now, let's get some realistic numbers here. Let's say you're starting off with a list of 200 prospective people. You're sending out this invitation to them. Statistically speaking, you'll probably get 10% of people saying, yes, I'll be on your webinar. So that would be 20 people, all right? That's pretty good. We send out the 3 reminder emails, and even though we've reminded them, probably only about 50% of the people that said they're going to show up actually do show up. So you get 10 people on your webinar. Now you might be thinking, well, Dave, is it even worthwhile? Yes, very worthwhile. I mean, think about it. That is 10xing your leverage. You're leveraging your time 10 times because you're doing one presentation to 10 people, okay? So that's why we need step number 3, which are the 3 follow-up emails. So we record the webinar, put it up on your investor-focused website. Let's say this is a Thursday, so you're going to keep it up for 3 days. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then you take it down. So then you want to remind people on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that your replay is up. Your limited time replay or recording is available for them to watch, okay? And then again, take it down after the 3 days because we don't want to start training people to just watch replays. You want them to be on the live event as much as possible. All right, so that's the synopsis of how to do a webinar, 3 by 3 by 3 process, and then follow up with everybody who has watched your webinar. Say, hey, what did you think of the webinar? Try to get people booked onto direct one-on-one calls from that. And this is how you can use webinars to raise capital quickly. Now, how effective can this be? It can be very, very effective. Like I said earlier, this is the #1 way I've used to raise capital over the last 6 or 7 years. It's been a very effective way we've helped other people raise capital as well. In fact, one of our clients, Marco Naba, he hit the ground running with this. His very first webinar, we did this whole process, and I believe he raised, just over $400,000 from that first webinar, which was what he needed to get into his next property. And then we rinsed and repeated the process 6 months later. His second webinar, he actually raised $1 million for a larger multifamily property at that point. So webinars can work like gangbusters. All right, if you like that idea and you want more just like it, go ahead, grab a copy of my book, Money Partner Formula. You can get that at investorattractionbook.com or click on the link in the description below.